Welcome to the programming session. In this uh, part of the lesson, we're going to discuss about control flow statements. Under control flow statements, especially we're going to discuss about repetition or iteration statements. So I'm going to teach you what do you mean by iterations or repetitions. Right. So by looking at the word itself, you'd have guessed it. Repetition or repeating means doing something again and again and again. So you cannot continue a task forever, but based on a condition, we're going to continue a task or set of tasks again and again and again. So that kind of a style of writing programs or style of coding is known as repetitions or iteration statements. So in Java, we're going to discuss basically three types of iteration statements: while statements, do while statements, and for statements. So, which means they are while loop, do while loop, and for loop. So, I'm going to teach you how to use these things, and I will give you time for you to practice as well. So, after that, we can take some questions and do. Okay, let's get started with that part. So, here, okay, these are selection statements. So, here we have the repetition statement part. Say it says while statement. So there are some information about the while loop is given. I will be explaining that to you because I need to make you understand that theory, what it does, right? So there are two, three things being said there. The first one says pre-tested or entry control loop, but while loop. We're talking about the while loop. So pre-tested or entry controlled loop. Now this one, um, that is condition is evaluated before executing the loop body, therefore repeats zero more times, which means a while loops syntax looks like this. Children, you can see earlier we were writing if conditions, here we are writing while. It is a keyword. While we write an open close parenthesis, within the parenthesis we have to write a condition. It should be a boolean expression, which means the value should evaluate to true or false. If the value is true, or as long as the value is remaining true inside this while condition, the loop's body, which is starting from here and finishing over here, this part can be executed. This part can be continuously done without any issues. So that is how the loop will work. So you can see while is a condition statement that we are writing. Actually, within parentheses we give a condition to evaluate. If the condition is true, it can do the job. In this scenario, you can see we have set a variable called count, and we have stored the value 0. So when the code reaches this place, while when you say count is less than 10, we are actually saying 0 is less than 10. That is true actually, because count variable has the value 0. Then when you say 0 is less than 10, that is true. 0 is less than 10 is true. When this is true, you can go inside the loop and do. What are you doing? You are displaying the value of count, which is 0 will be printed. Then count is getting incremented by 1. We have already done this. So count is getting incremented by 1. Count plus plus is also equals to count equals count plus 1. So each time 1 will be added to count. So starting value is 0. When it comes to this line, count will become 1. Then once it goes to this particular line, this will go back to the starting point, because this is a loop or this is a repetition statement. So it need to get repeated, it need to get done again. So once you are coming here, this is we are coming for the second time. Count value has changed now. Earlier it was 0, now the value is 1. Second time the value is 1. So once it comes here, now it checks 1 is less than 10. Still the condition is true. Go inside the loop for the second time, print the value of count, which is 1. Then increment the count again by 1. Now the count becomes 2. Come here, go back again. So 2 is less than 10. That is for the third time we are checking. 2 is less than 10 is true. Go inside, print the value 2. Increment it by 1. Now count becomes 3. Go back. 3 is less than 10, so on and so forth. It's going to keep on doing. At a time, it will display the value 9. 9 plus 1, it becomes 10. Once it comes here, again, it goes to the condition part here. So we write or it becomes 10 is less than 10. At a time, it becomes 10 less than 10, which is not true. 10 is less than 10 is not true. Actually, 10 is equals to 10 only true. So 10 is less than 10 is not true. So this part will not be done because condition is checked, then only the code is executed. Because the condition is failing or the selection is failing here, this loop body will not be executed at the 11th time. By then you have executed already 9 times. It's like this. So we are 0, wait, 0, 1, 2, sorry, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just I wanted to tell you that because it's starting from 0, it works 10 times. By the time it displays 9, it has already done 10 times. That's what I just wanted to share with you. So this is how the while loop is. The structure is like this. This is how it works. We will just take a look at the program and quickly do one, then you can practice, right? Let me quickly code that and show you. You need to write a variable. We will take a variable called I, because usually in programming as a tradition, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, like that is how the variables are named for the loop controlling part. Because how many times this loop is going to work or it's not going to work at all, it's going to depend in the value that you are storing in the variable I. So that is why it is important. Watch this. I have stored the value 0 in a variable called I. So when you write while, you say I is less than 10. I is less than 10, open close curly braces. Inside that we are printing the value of I, then we are incrementing the I. So there are three sections that you have in a loop. Basically, you can see, so initialization of the loop control variable. Why I say it's a loop control variable, because how many times the loop is going to execute or it's not going to execute, it totally depends on the value that you're having in the variable I. So according to this program, it is I, right? So therefore this variable is uh, having the value 0 now, because in Java we start the values when you want to count something. We start counting from 0. That is the way that we do it in programming, especially in programming languages like Java, C++, C and all. We start counting from 0. um, then it says while the value of I is less than 10, just like in the previous lesson or the explanation. If it is true, you go inside the loop and do the work. So let's run this and see. Shift F6 is the shortcut key. There you go. It's displaying the values from 0 to 9. It's displaying the values from 0 to 9. So altogether 10 times the work has been done. The next one is, what we're going to do is, I'm going to show you, I'm going to actually prove that pre-tested or entry control loop, that means condition is evaluated at the beginning before executing the loop body, which means if you make the loop control variable 100 here, I is equals to 100, no problem, this line can be done. Then when it comes to line number 9, you can see while I represents the value 100. So 100 is less than 10 is not true. 100 is less than 10 is not true. This condition is not true at the very beginning. So even you haven't executed not even once. Because the condition is not true, you cannot do the loop body. This cannot be done. So when this is not done, actually you can say this loop repeats 0 times. Therefore, a while loop cannot repeat at all if the condition is not true at the very beginning. So then you're not going to repeat a task. If I run this program, there will be no output. Shift F6. You can see there is no output on the screen, right? Okay, so we will change that to back to normal, right? 0, and we can practice this, right? Okay, I'll give you time for you to practice. Finish it off and let me know. Okay, since that you have done this practice in this part, let's move on to the next section, which is the next type of loop, right? So that is why I told you while loop is an entry controlled or pre-tested loop. Before executing the loop body, this condition is getting executed. That is the meaning of pre-tested or entry controlled loop. Next turn is completely opposite to what you saw in previous, which is in while loop. A do while loop, you can see the syntax. If you take a look at the syntax down here, you have a keyword called do, but next to the word do, there is nothing to evaluate. There is nothing to check. So simply what you do is after the word do, the loop body, that block is starting there. So the starting block is here. So what happens there is after the word do, directly statements are going to get executed. So you are displaying the value of count here. Value of count here you're displaying. Then you are incrementing the count by 1. Those are the two things that you're doing under this do part. You are incrementing the count by 1. So after that, once it reaches the end of the loop body, before you execute for the second time, before you execute it for the second time, it is checking the condition. It is checking the condition whether it is still remaining true, because the value of count started from 0. You printed the value count, that is 0. 0 plus 1, it became 1. Then while 1 is less than 10, still the condition is true. You can see, unlike the while loop, in a do while loop, when you write this while part, you have to make sure that you include a semicolon here, indicating that the do while part is finishing here. If you miss that one, it is a syntax error. So it goes back here. It goes back here and will again do printing the count, which is 1 will be printed, 1 will be incremented to 2, 2 is less than 10 again, and now it can keep on repeating. So this program having no big difference from the previous program. So we will do some alterations to this and practice and see. I'll demonstrate to you. So I'll take a new program. Here also will take the variable I is assign the value 0. So here you just type do and open close curly braces automatically comes. Then you write while, then the condition, which is I less than 10. That's how you have written. Inside this, we're going to do the code. So we're going to say I plus plus, right? System.out println I. So we are printing the value of I and we are incrementing the value of I by 1. So before executing the second time, we are checking the condition. So by the time you are checking the condition, you have already done the loop body once. So if I execute this code, output will be the same. 0 to 9 it is printing. Now see what happens is, for the variable I, if I store 500, if you check the condition here, if you check the condition, 500 is less than 10 is not true. It's not true. But the thing is, the checking the condition part is in line number 12, which means it is at the latter part, last part of the loop, not at the beginning. Therefore, when it comes to the line number 7, where the do while loop starts, the block directly gets started executing because there is nothing to evaluate here. Even though the value of I is 500 at the very beginning, this loop body will be done at least once. It's going to do that once. So 500 will be printed. With 500, 1 will be added. That means it becomes 501. So by the time you are checking, 501 is less than 10 is not true. So the second time you cannot repeat. So when I run this one, output will be 500. There you go. Output is 500. So that is how a do while loop works. In a real world examples, you will be using this one very rarely, but while loops and for loops are quite often they are used. Now you can practice this. Right, let's continue with the lesson. So that's about the do while loop. You have finished practicing it. Let's continue. Now we're going to learn another type of a loop, which is a pretty easy to use and straightforward type of a loop, a for loop or for statement. This is also a pre-tested or entry controlled loop, which means now for loop also, if you take a look at here, you can see it has a loop body. The loop body can be done only if the condition is true and the condition is evaluated at the beginning of the coding. Therefore, this is called pre-tested or entry controlled loop. That is why that name has been given specifically. The other things again, condition because it is evaluated at the beginning, so this can execute the loop body for zero or more times. That means it can totally skip executing the loop body at all. And this is a predefined loop because by looking at the condition and the values, you can guess or you can tell exactly how many times the loop will work. There is a small argument like you can look at a while loop and also you can say this will look definitely this will work 10 times, this will work 100 times. But there are occasions where you can make use of this kind of a loop uh, actually in an uncertain place where a number of times that you want to do the work is not clear. How many times you want to do the work is not clear. You can simply do that one, right? So there is an example that we can do. So I will explain that one with a practical example with you next. So where you can use that one. But if a while for loop is pretty straightforward, you just tell how many times it's going to repeat, right? Okay, right. Now I like to teach you this one with the syntax itself. So if you go here, we will create a new program. A for loop has three parts. If you take away a while loop, in a while loop, there are major three sections actually. I'm going to explain that part here because if you take a loop should work not forever, right? So it should work for a given number of times. Then after that, it should stop. So we need to make sure a loop works again and again and again, but at a given time, the loop execution will fail and it will stop. To do that, we have to design it in such a way. So we need to have a loop control variable declared and things like that. So if you take a for loop, it takes the structure like this: for open close parenthesis, inside this open close curly braces, I'll put the that is the loop body anyway. Inside this open close curly brace, sorry, inside open close this parenthesis, there are three sections that we're going to include. Number one is we have to give a we have to give a initialization of a variable. Actually, this is the loop control variable. Int I is assigned the value 0 I have given. So as long as the value of I is remaining less than 10, we can continue the work. So second part is a condition. You're going to give the second part of the for loop is a condition. Then you have I plus plus, which means I is incremented by 1. So I is assigned the value of 0. That is the initialization, right? That's one part. You can see semicolon is there. So yeah, we are differentiating. Then I is less than 10. That is the condition. Semicolon, that means again we are differentiating. Two parts have gone. Last part is the modification, I plus plus or I minus minus. You can write according to your preference. Then if you check here, I'm going to display the value of I. Then I can type I here. So this is all the program is about. So I'll run this one once, then I'm going to explain the pieces. So you can see the output comes from 0 to 9. Simple as that. Again explaining, there are three parts in a for loop. What is the three parts? What are the three parts? First part is the initialization of the loop control variable. That is a must. That is the first time. During the lifetime of the loop, this will work only once. during the lifetime of the loop. This is going to happen only once. Okay, right. So then this part is the second part condition. So this has to be executed right after the initialization. I'm talking about the very first time when the computer program executes this one. This will be executed at the very beginning and only once. Once that is finished, you're going to check the condition where I is less than 10. Yes, it is true. 0 is less than 10. Here we defined it 0 I. So it is representing 0. 0 is less than 10. It is true. Now what it does is skip this first time, go inside the loop body and do the work it has been given. What we have given is just to print the value of I, which is 0 will be printed. So once it comes here, end of the block, it will go back to the loop. It will come back to the line. Once it come back to the line number 5, it's going to first do, this is the second time when it comes, it is first going to do the modification, which is it's going to increment I by 1 or it's going to decrement I by 1. That is what it's going to do. So when it increments I by 1, it was 0, 0 plus 1, it becomes 1. Now the value of I has changed. Before you go inside the loop and do the execution part, second time again the condition will be tested. After modification, condition is again tested. Then if the condition is still remaining true, you can go inside the loop and you can do the task. So 1 will be printed, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 will be printed. After printing 9, I will become 10. 10 is less than 10 is not true, so 10 will not be printed like this. So that is how it works. As I told you, it's a pre-tested loop. If it is at the beginning 100, so the condition is failing at the very beginning itself, it's not going to execute the code. There you go. It is not executing the code at all. So that is the way that you write a for loop, right? So I give you some time for you to practice this one. Since we have finished practicing the loop part, let's do one or two questions in this. Then we will go forward, right? So easy questions, we will do one or two. Then it's easy for you, right? Okay. So that's about the for loop, do while loop, and the while loop parts, right? Okay. So let me show you a few things, right? So we will take a small question, not question, right? So it's easy one. Let me post the video and type this. So we will do this question. If you take a look at it, I have already told you how to tackle a program. You know, you need to see what are the inputs and what process need to be done, what output we need to take. So as long as this program is concerned, input, it's been not properly mentioned whether we're going to give it from the directly from the keyboard or input as in a variable we have to store the value. Develop a Java program to display all the integers in the range 50 to 150. So that is the question is about. So this question we need to do. So one, I will demonstrate this question to you. Then after that you can do it. So in this program you need to properly understand all the display all the integers, in the sense you're going to print the numbers from 50, 51, 52, 53. It goes keep on going like that. 147, 148, 149, 150, then it should stop. Like that, it has to print all the numbers. This is what the program is expecting you to do. So, you know, we are printing actually 100 integers. So if you are printing 100 integers like that, so 50 to 150 we are in your printing, then we need to do the same thing again and again and again. Without a loop also we can do, but you know, uh, it will be difficult to do. I'll show you, right? Okay, let's take, so we'll say loop quiz 1. So take the main method first. Without a loop, if you're doing, you will do something like this. Int I is assigned the value 50, fine. Then you say s out I, then you can say I plus plus, right? So first time you have printed I, then what you do is you can copy this 1, 51, 52, 53, 54. Likewise 100 times I can do. So if I run this one, you will see that is incrementing anyways. You get 50, 51, it is getting. So if I ask you to print a number like 500 to 5000 numbers, then copying and pasting will be very tough to do, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of a loop. So first I'll show you with the while loop, then I can show you with the for loop if you prefer, right? So watch this. So you can say while, open parenthesis, condition is important, I is less than or equals to 150, because the question says 50 and 150 inclusive, so 150 also should be printed. That is why I gave you inclusive. Starting value should be taken as 50, 50, 51, 52, it's printing. So only thing what you have to do is you have to just print the value of I and make sure you increment it by 1. So this is the loop control variables. Initialization part is there, condition is there to make sure at a given time the condition will fail and the loop will stop. Then we have incrementing or decrementing to make sure this condition will fail at a time. So those are the main parts of this one. If you execute this program, it gives you the output as, right, there we go, 50, 51, 52 things going on, right? 148, 149, 150. Program is working perfectly correct, right? So that's the idea. So we can do the same thing using a for loop if you like. So a for loop also can be used. You can see using a for loop is much easy. Int I equals 50, I less than 150 equals to 150, I plus plus. That's all the code. Just 2 lines of coding. When you run, same output comes. So assume you want to print the values from 800 to 1500, 8000 to 100, 1500. Simply just change these values. Starting value of I am changing, ending value of I am changing. So if I execute the program, it will simply done that. It doesn't even take 1 second to do that. So a huge output is given, right? So starting from 800 all the way up to 1500 is printed, right? Okay, so this is what I wanted you to do, 150, right? So that's the answer for the question. So you have 2 types of things to do, right? So I will give you another question for you to do, right? Okay, I ask you people to do this question, maybe take about 2-3 minutes. Develop this program, develop a Java program to display all the integers, which means numbers in the range 250 to 1. So I have asked you, it is showing like in reverse, right? So 250 and 50 are both inclusive. So when you're printing, it should print like this: 250, 249, 248, 247, and keep on, it's going like that. Then at a time it will show 51, 50, it will display like this. So this is what I want you to do. So you can do this one now. Okay, I will demonstrate how to do this question. Half of you were able to do that. Some were saying it's difficult to do the reversing part. There is nothing big to do, right? So what I meant by reverse is starting value is 250 we are printing, then we are printing 249, 248, like we are coming in a descending order. That's what we are doing. So we start from a big value and we stop it at a small value. Earlier when we were writing a while loop or a for loop, we usually went from a small value to a large value. So look at this program, how it's done. It's pretty simple. Loop quiz 2, when you do that, it goes like this. So you can type You can use any type of loop that you prefer. So for loop is pretty easy to do. So you can type the word for and press the tab key. It will automatically come like this. So at the beginning, I didn't show you this. Then it is displaying I selected. If I type X, everything changes to X. Or if you want to change to Y, everything will change to Y. So I'll leave it to I. I is equals to the value 0. So which is not correct. We have to put I is equals 250. I is less than or equal not. I is greater than or equals to 50. Then I minus minus. We learned about increment decrement operators. Then we can simply print the value I. That's all the code that I was expecting you to write. Starting value is 250. As long as the value of I is remaining more than 50, we can keep on continuing doing this one. So Shift F6 will run the program and we are getting the output as we expected. So 250 starting, slowly reducing like that, and it's going all the way up to 50. So that's how the program works. Okay, right. We'll do one more question now. Hmm. Develop Java program to display only the even numbers in the range 11 to 333. 11 and 333 are inclusive, right? Okay. So I want the answer to be displayed like this: 12, 14, 16. Likewise, it will go up to 326, 320, 328, then 330, 332. Then it'll, that's all the output will come. I want you to do a program like this. Try this. Okay, time's up. Let me show you the answer, how it's been done. So none of you were able to do this program. It's very simple, right? So let's try to think a little bit outside the box, because children, inside a for loop, it's not only you can write println statements and increment decrement statements. You can make use of any codings that you have learned before, right? So let me show you that. Let's take a variable like this. So we'll take the for loop itself. Uh, Without coding like that, I'll do it step by step. So you know, I'll take a variable called I and I'll put the value 11 there. No worries, you can put the value 11. I is less than or equals to 333, because the question says 11 and 333 are both inclusive. Then from a small value to a large value we are going, so we can uh, increment the value each time we do that. So we, if you write system.out.println and directly print I, every number will be printed. So this is not the program is asking you to do. You are not required to print everything. As you can see, there are some numbers even numbers, some numbers odd numbers. So what we need to do is we can't directly print. So we have to select only even numbers and display. So we have something called, if you want to select, we have the selection statements. So simple write if what is changing, I is changing. Starting from 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's changing. So you can say variable I is modulus divided by 2. When modulus dividing is happening, you can check the remaining value. When 11 is there in modulus, sorry, when 11 is there in the variable I, when you modulus divide 11 by 2, answer is 1. So this condition is not true. Even if you write this, it's not going to print 11. 11 will not be printed. Then it goes here and it comes up here. I gets incremented by 1. I now becomes 12. Once I becomes 12, 12 is less than or equals to 333. Still the answer is true. Go inside. 12 is modulus divided by 2. Remaining value is 0. Yes, this condition is true now because 12 is an even number. So now you can go inside the if condition and you can print the value of I, which means 12 will be printed in the screen. Then it will go here, again it will come here. 12 plus 1, I will become 13. 13 is less than 333. Yes, true. Come inside. We want to see whether we can print 13 or not. So 13 is modulus divided by 2 is equals to 1, not equals to 0. So this condition is not true again. So 13 cannot be printed. Go back, increment it by 1, I becomes 14. 14 is less than 333. True. Come inside. 14 modulus divided by 2, its remaining value is 0 because it's an even number. Now 14 can be displayed. So on and so forth, it will print all the numbers. That's all the code that you have. Shift F6. There we go. Only the even numbers printed. Okay, so that is how it should have been done, right? Okay, so that's about it. The next part I'm going to show you is we're going to tackle again, we're going to use loops, but I'm going to show you a little bit of a different type of an example where we're going to give a keyboard input and we will try to do that one. So let me put a cushion for you. Let me put a cushion here. So let me put a fourth cushion. Okay, let's do this question. I will demonstrate this to you. It's a simple question. What it is asking is develop a Java program to enter a number series. Number series means you will be keep on entering integers. You will be keep on entering numbers to the program. It is going to keep on asking. We have done this one in pseudocode. It is going to keep on asking for the numbers from you. So there is no limit. You can keep on entering numbers right from the keyboard, which is terminated by a special value. So as I'm saying, keep on doing, a loop should be breaking at a time. The loop should stop at a time. When this will be stopping, when this will be breaking, if you enter the number minus 333, if we enter minus 333, program will stop executing. Okay, it will stop executing. Then once we stop the execution, now by then you have taken numbers. Once you stop executing, you have to display the total of all the numbers that had been entered earlier. So find and display the total of all the integers that were entered. Is this question is clear to you all? So we have to create a program where we're going to keep on entering numbers from the keyboard. So I'm going to show you how you can mix that one with a loop. Then what happens is once that is done, once that is done, and if you enter minus 333, program's going to stop. Loop is actually going to stop and it's going to tell you what is the total of all the numbers that you have already entered. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's do that. Right. Children, here I'm going to target the input from keyboard. So, if you want to work with the keyboard, we have worked with the scanner class. Scanner scan is assign the value. So we create a scanner object here and we had to import the package. We'll keep that code a little bit like that. Now we need to make sure the user inputs a value. Okay, inputs a value, and we need to have that one. So what the user will input will be number, and um, we need to find the total also. Total we haven't found it yet, so we will say total is 0. Uh, then I'm going to say s out, s out. Enter a number. Then we're going to say we will make this one easier code a little bit. We'll say int number is assigned scan dot next int. So we are reading the input from the keyboard. So user will type a number here. Then we type while, because for loop it's difficult to use here. While loop we will use while entered number is not equals to minus 333. So if you don't enter minus 333, program can work. What it's going to do is total is assigned to total plus number that you enter. Total is assigned to total plus number that you enter. Okay. Now what we do is we need to go forward. The loop should keep on going, because if you leave it here, every time this will keep on adding the value of number that you entered to the total, and it will not stop at all. So we have to request the user to enter another number. So we say enter another number, right? Enter another number. This is inside the loop. So what the user enters, we will put it into num variable, right? This is the code that you have to write. So suppose the user typed minus 333 now, then it will go up here, minus 333 not equal to minus 333, condition will fail, loop will stop. So outside the loop, what we need to do is we have to say you can display the total. Outside the loop, we can display the total, simple as that. Okay, so that is the simple program that you need to know, right? So that's a simple program. So we have already done this one in the pseudocode, but this is the proper syntax in Java, how we are doing. This is directly necessary for you to do the assignments. So that is what I'm training you. So let's find this one, Shift F6. So it's asking enter a number. So I'm going to test this one. So I'm going to enter some easy numbers. 10. So it's asking 10 is not minus 333. So it is asking the second number. It has gone inside the loop. Now I'm typing again 10, again 10. So now the total is 30, again 10, total is 40, 50, minus 333. Answer should be 50. It should say total is 50. Program is stopping, total is 50, answer coming. Once more, we will run this one. You can type, I'm typing 50. I'll type minus 50. It is acceptable. Only minus 333 is not accepting. We will type again 50. Now the total is again 50, 50, 50, minus 333. Answer is 150. Okay, hope you understand this, how to do, right? Okay, right. Okay, seems that I haven't taught you this part in the previous lessons. What this does is, okay, now Java comes with the built-in huge class library. A lot of class libraries are available. So when you want to tackle user input, when you want to take user input from the keyboard, there's a special classes available for that, because now all the facilities in a software that you're creating, you don't have to build it from scratch. There is a built-in class library which comes with huge amount of classes, thousands of classes available, and each class is capable of giving you some functionalities. So likewise, it is like, simply think about yourself as a carpenter, and carpenter has a cupboard. The cupboard is having full of racks. Each rack has a set of tools inside that one. For example, one rack having screwdrivers, one is having pliers, one is having what do you call this, saws, and the other one is having power drills, grinder machine. Everything is there which is needed to do all the carpentry work. So each time the carpenter creates a table or a chair or what kind of a furniture, whatever furniture, he does not go and first create the tool like hammers, then the saw machine or the grinder, drill machine. They don't need to create all these tools. The tools are already available in the toolbox, like in his cupboard, in the drawers, it's available. Only thing is he need to use the correct, he has to go to the correct place, he has to go to the correct place and access the correct tool. So since Java is coming up with plenty of built-in tools like that, thousands of tools or under classes like this, you can import them. You have to tell to Java program, in this particular package means it's a collection of classes and interfaces and other programs. So Java is a package, it's a folder full of classes. Inside that one, there is a sub package, like a subfolder. Inside that, there is a program called scanner. Like you go to the main cupboard, open the cupboard, second rack, you have the grinder machine, you have the drill machine, you have the screwdriver. Likewise, so you are telling go to this place, from there go to this place and get this tool, right? So you don't have to build this from scratch. So the scanner class is a special class which is designed by the Java developers themselves. What it does is it lets you take keyboard inputs from the keyboard. If you want input values, this program can handle. So upcoming classes we will do a little bit more. So scanner we are creating in line number 6. Scanner scan, this is an object name that we are giving. So scanner is the program which is already coming from the tool. We are creating an object of that. This is the object oriented part. Scan, then to create that one new scanner part you have to code. New scanner you have to give. This is the constructor method in object oriented programming. Let me tell you about this. As a parameter you have to give what is the standard input device, which is system.in. That is your keyboard, system.in. That's all what you have to know at this moment to do that one. So in order to get a keyboard input, this is what you do. So when you basically code this line without doing the import line, Java does not know what you mean by scanner. It will say simply symbol not found, because it doesn't know what that is, or class scanner, it doesn't know where to take that on. So if you do not know the actual path, as I automatically took, you can type also. You can say import Java package. When I keep the dot, all the sub packages or the subfolders are dropping down. You out of that util is a package. When I keep the dot, you can see all the packages and other relevant things are available inside the util package. You can see even it has sub packages, not only the scanner class. So we are interested in using the scanner class. Make sure you don't make a spelling mistake. You can type like this. So if you don't want to spend a lot of time type in that one, there's a shortcut key to take that also. You can hold the control key, shift key, and you can press the letter I on the keyboard. Control shift I on the keyboard will bring up this dialog box, fix all imports. This is available in NetBeans. Even you can right click on that and you can fix that. Fix imports. Next to that, you can see the shortcut key. So if I say fix imports, then it will pop up and shows which library to use. Most probably, this is the one we are using. They say, okay, and the code is auto-generated, right? So delete this one, Control Shift I, press the enter key, it's done. This is another good feature of NetBeans. When we are writing the theory part, I'll let you know good features found in a IDE. This is another one, code completion and auto coding part you can do, right? We didn't type this, auto NetBeans gave us this code. So that is how you make use of the scanner class, or that is how you take the input. So in order to take the input, you can take different types of inputs, right? So if you are reading an integer value, you say scan dot next int. This can read integer values only. If you are reading float value, you can say next float. If you want to read just text, you can say next line. The whole line will be read. So this is for string, this is for floating point, and this is for integers. Those are the three things available. So here in our program, we are reading an integer. In line number 11, I'm creating a variable called num and scanner class object dot next int. Next int means I'm asking the computer to read only integers from the keyboard. Whatever the user types, if it is a proper integer, it will be read and it will be stored in the variable num. That is what's happening. Rest of the programming is same. Okay. So I'm asking you to do develop a Java program to enter series of integers from keyboard, find and display the total of only even numbers. So okay, develop a Java program to enter series of integers from keyboard, terminated by a special value minus 777. Find and display the total of only the even numbers. So example, it will ask like this. Code will ask enter number, right? So you enter 11, then it is asking again you to enter number, you enter 20, again it's asking another number to enter, you enter 40, again it's asking you to enter number, you enter 13, Again, you enter asking a number, you're entering -777. When you press the enter key, it should say total is 60. So this is the output I expect. Okay, this is how the program should function, right? Enter a number, so you keep on entering the numbers. Once you enter -777, program should stop executing and it should display the answer, total of even numbers only, right? Okay, so you have to know how to get the input from the keyboard. That is a program we did. That is the purpose of learning this one. And you need to use it with a while loop or a for loop, whatever. And make sure you find the total of only the even numbers, right? Okay, I can take about 3-4 minutes and do it. After that, I will show you. So time's up. So I will show you the answer, how it's done, right? Most of you did it correctly. So few of you were a little bit struggling. So let me show you how it's done. We will go for a fresh question. Loop quiz 5. So first thing first, we need to get the scan input, keyboard input. So we'll get the scanner class. Right, then we say int dot even. So you could have done it like that because you are getting marks for good variable naming. Then int num. For that you can say s out, and enter a number. Int num is assign the value scan dot next int, while num is not equals to -777. We can continue doing it. What we need to do is we need to make sure um, if the entered number can be modulus divided by 2, and if the remainder is 0, which means it's an even number. Okay, without a remainder, if it is getting divided by 2, which is a even number, only at that time you can say dot even is assign the value dot even. So you can do this one in a shorthand assignment way like this. This is another way to write the code. This is the way programmers will do actually. So okay, total even is assign the value total even plus number. Then we're going to ask the user to again input the number. System.print, enter another number. So don't say int num, now just say num because it's already defined. Num is assign the value scan dot next int. So we are reading the next keyboard input. So hopefully if the user does not type -777, the loop can once more run. Keep on going like that. At an occasion, once you type the -777, loop will stop and then it will display the total of even numbers. So we say s out total of evens dot even. That's all the code. Okay. Right. So shift F6. So it's asking enter a number. We will type 11, which is not going to be considered. 13, no. 25, no. 40, yes. 60, yes. Now the total is 100. 100, now the total is 200. 51, no. 61, no. -777, answer is 200. Okay, hope you understand this. This is what I wanted you to develop, right? So that is what we did. So today's class, we mainly did a recap of the selection statements. Then what we did was we did the repetition statements we did. So the 3 types of repetitions that we learned about while loops. It's a pre-tested loop. Condition is tested at the beginning. So therefore it can repeat 0 or more times. We learned about the while loop. Then we learned about do while loop where the condition is getting tested at the end. So therefore this will be repeated at the first time. Whether the loop condition is true or false, it's going to execute. Then we learned about for loop. For loop is a predefined loop which has three parts: initialization, condition, and modification. So it is a very convenient type of a loop to work with. And we learned how to make use of all these types of loops. And after that, what we did was we did some exercises. Here also I have given some exercises in the slide. So just three slides, and that's the end of the slide show there, right? So before we wind up, do you have any doubts? You have, if you have any feedback, you can talk to me, then I can stop, right? Okay, so for this video's sake, I will be stopping, right? So see you again in another video. Next video I will be seeing you. Till then, bye.